Mm-hmm.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Actualize After Hours. This is most likely going to be our last time playing a game that we have just become familiar with, because that's how we handle things here at Actualize, is we get comfortable and then we immediately move on from that thing that we were a little bit comfortable with and learn something difficult. So we're going to attempt to play Wavelength. And for those of you who haven't seen any previous episodes or don't know what this game is, basically it's a game where you break into teams and each team tries to probe certain responses. We'll kind of see how it goes as we go. It's a pretty straightforward game. You are supposed to be guessing what somebody means by a clue that they've given. And that's kind of the gist of the game. It gets really weird and it gets us to ask a lot of weird questions, such as previous questions. How
dry as potato bread.
Potato bread. What were some other good ones from last time? I think we had a few good ones last time too that I can't remember what questions we asked.
The potato bread is forever etched in my mind.
The potato bread question, I think that one really was a standout. So yeah, we're going to ask questions to each other. And my phone is going off about how dry potato bread is. And we will find out exactly. Well, how dry was potato bread? Did we decide?
It was not the driest thing. It was slightly moist.
No. Slightly moist. Great. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we're going to break into some random teams today. We do have 5 players, which means we have an uneven team size. So we could do one of two things. We could either have a dual player, or I could just facilitate game and not play. Although I feel like I have such good input, what a detriment would that be?
The reason why we talked about that last time, and it's like, if that's the case, then there's only one guesser, right? There's like one,
right? No one to bounce
conversation.
Off of.
Yep.
You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So maybe you can be the floater. I think that's what we did last time.
Maybe. Who has the most neutral opinions? Maybe Jay or maybe Brian?
I was gonna say, I was like, probably Jay or Brian.
Because I think maybe that
having neutral opinions means your opinions are not interesting.
It means you don't end up moving the needle at all. It's like whenever somebody says something, it's just like
needle a lot.
So,
just someone to go when the other person has guesses.
Yeah, so neither me or Brian apparently really care too much about it.
Right. Like, who is the most like a rubber duck?
Rubber ducky programming. Rubber ducky Wavelength. Yeah, I feel like I'm really controversial and opinionated, so that might not be good to play on both teams. Or maybe that is good to play on both teams.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Danny, you can do it.
All right. I'll do it. I volunteer as tribute. I'll both team it, and then let's go ahead and let's break you people up. Let's do arbitrarily deciding on teams based off of, let's go with
where the boxes are on your Zoom screen.
Yeah.
Or you can make breakout rooms and then.
No, I was gonna do birth months.
Oh.
Birth months. First 2 and second 2. So who's born in the first half of the year?
Well, Lisa and I are both in May, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Lisa and I share a birthday.
Yes, we do. Not the same year,
Peter,
but we do.
Peter and Brian, second half of the year?
Are we all born
October.
in May?
No.
No.
October.
I am also second half of the year.
Okay, so we're going to go with Jay and...
That is the only amount of information that you will get out of Brian. And he's like, if this is going to go online, I don't want any information for a hacker. Like, I'm not going to give you my mother's maiden name, nor the month that I was born.
No, his class was asking about it. They were trying to guess his age, and we were having this conversation where I was like, yes, I know when his birthday is, and no, I'm not going to tell you.
I love that. My class has never asked me that because I think it's rude.
Brian's security question for all his online stuff is the month he was born in. Right. Doesn't give that away.
So next time we make groups, we're going to ask
one
Brian.
To figure out.
We'll ask Brian, are you in the first half of the second half or the second half of the first half? And we'll just keep narrowing it down until we get
they call that
binary search.
Binary search down to the minute.
There you go. Yeah. Brian,
so for the audience, half of this episode is just setting things up.
Yes. Yes. And making fun of Brian is the other half. We got a twofer in the first half of this segment. Okay. So
is playing Wavelength.
We'll go with technical instructors versus administration and career counseling. So yeah, we're gonna break it up. This might actually be bad because they might think two alike. We'll have to see.
I used to be technical, for what that's worth.
That's true.
Is Peter not admin?
Technically, I think
point.
we're all sort of administrative.
Basically, yeah.
Let's go with lead instructors versus not lead instructors.
There you go.
Although when I join that team, I will be a lead instructor on that
Just broken
team.
your role.
Okay,
Yep.
we give up immediately on trying to draw connections, and we jump into the game instead. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the first card, and I'm going to set up this board. So basically, like, you have these two little weird heads, an orange one and a yellow one. And we'll arbitrarily decide who goes first by Lisa picking a color, yellow or orange. And I'm holding a color in my right hand. No, you just pick a color, and this is what goes first.
Red is not a viable option.
It's orange or yellow.
Yellow.
She picks yellow. Yellow goes first. All right. So Lisa is yellow. Lisa and Jay are yellow. Peter and Brian are orange. Yellow will go first. So
That's a lot
does the
of
second
setup to
team
this
get
game.
an extra point or something?
the team that goes second gets a point to start with. So you start at 1 point over here. Okay. So decide who's going to be psychic amongst the two of you.
Lisa, do you want to do it?
Sure.
It will be Lisa. Okay. And so now I've drawn a card already and I'm holding it. And basically, this card, we're going to read both sides, and Lisa's going to get to choose what side she likes more. So the card says, messy food versus clean food. And on the other side, the card says, can we read this? Underrated or overrated?
Oh. Okay.
So what side do you like?
Underrated, overrated sounds so much more dangerous.
Okay. That one seems harder. Messy food
Exactly.
and clean food seems like kind of straightforward-ish, right?
Well, yeah, because people know what food is, right? Whereas,
Right.
well, like sometimes you get in a weird space where you're like, I want to say this band, but nobody knows this band, and it's the perfect clue. But what if the person doesn't know? So.
And we did this one before, which doesn't mean we can't do it again. But we did this.
I think there was
we
an
did?
underrated like weapon.
Underrated skill or something like that.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Just
Yeah.
straight
Skill.
up underrated. This one's like
Yeah,
very
Growing your own
broad.
food.
Underrated skill was that I had to do that clue. It was very hard. Very
That's right. That was the gardening one,
Yeah.
which I thought was
Yes.
very underrated skill.
Yes.
Right. But I didn't give it enough context. So.
Cool. So we're going with underrated versus overrated. So that's the card prompt. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to spin this wheel a bunch until Lisa tells me to stop.
Wait, we're doing
Stop.
underrated, overrated, or are we doing?
Yes. Underrated, overrated.
Okay.
Cool. So now we've stopped it here, and now everyone has to close their eyes, including me, because I'm going to be guessing, except for Lisa. Lisa's the one that can keep her eyes open while I flip this. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then can I see the card? You can flip it back again. And can I see the card? Which side is which?
So you guys can open your eyes now.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So Lisa's the only one who knows where the target is on this board. The rest of us do not know. Including me. I couldn't see it when I blocked my camera. I can't see myself anymore.
Okay. Underrated, overrated. Okay.
This
Oh,
one's a
boy.
hard one.
Wearing a mask right now in Texas.
In Texas. That was oddly specific. Wearing a mask in Texas.
This is Jay and Danny.
So now Jay and I have to deliberate. Now, obviously, as the controversial San Franciscan, I think wearing a mask is always underrated.
But does she mean in Texans' minds?
Very underrated. I don't know. Texans really like to not be told what to do.
So in their mind, it's overrated, right?
But she said, she didn't say like 2 Texans. She said in Texas.
Right. But so now we have to decipher which way she means. You know, I can't see which side is which.
That's underrated.
Yellow is underrated.
She said wearing a mask right now in Texas. I think that wearing a mask in Texas right now is probably underrated.
It all depends if it's in our minds or in the Texans' minds.
I think it's probably in our minds. I think. I don't think she means in Texans' minds, because I think she would phrase it specifically to say like 2 Texans, like as a Texan belief. So I think she more means, what do Texan people think of wearing a mask? Like, how do we perceive that? I could be wrong, but I would definitely, my instinct says that Texans are definitely underrating wearing masks. But I don't know how much in comparison to other places. I mean, there's also Florida.
This is why you don't want Jay to be the floater, because he's just going to sit there quietly. Doesn't yield a lot of back and forth conversation.
Yeah, it's just me talking to Jay.
Yep. That's why you're the perfect floater, Danny. That's why you're the perfect floater.
I'm trying to wrap my
so
head
much to
around.
say.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what that means. You're saying we think they're underrating it.
Yes.
Okay.
He doesn't like this.
Yeah.
Say what you're thinking. Say it out loud.
Yeah,
It's like
just
whiteboarding.
I think
Whiteboard your process to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's just what we were saying, that we think they're underrating it, or if in their minds it's overrated. I honestly think that she means it's in the Texans' minds that
You
they're
do?
overrated. Yeah, that's what I think, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it could definitely go either way. Like, if she means it from that perspective, we are 100% on the wrong side.
Right.
So wearing a mask in Texas right now, like, it's overrated or it's underrated. How would you finish that sentence if you were just saying that sentence?
That in Texas, they think it's overrated. So
But she didn't say they think. Like, finish the sentence. Right now in Texas, wearing
Yeah,
a mask
fine. Let's go
is-
with you. Let's go with what you're saying. Let's go with that. But
Okay,
then,
where do we
but then it should maybe be further.
How bad is
Like,
Texas right now?
We should go all in, maybe.
Texas is definitely not like the worst of places.
Where is worse than that?
I mean,
That's pretty.
I'm really not allowed to say anything right now, am I?
no, you're just allowed to look very stone-faced at us.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere there. Fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna metagame a little bit. The in Texas part that she said at the end sounded like an afterthought, which means that I think we should place less emphasis on it. And I think we should place more emphasis on just the wearing a mask part. I think she emphasized in Texas to get us to come a little bit more this way, but I think her original thought was just wearing a mask right now.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
I'm okay with that. So how much?
So I would take it up just a bit, maybe like that.
Fine.
He says fine.
This is why Jay would not be a good floater. He'd be silent most of the time, and then he's like, fine.
Fine.
I think he tried to push back and then got run over and was like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because I'm really not sure. It's in my head. It's sort of 50-50.
Yeah, it depends on the clue.
I'm trying to think as a non-lead instructor.
All right, final answer.
We are very technical. We're like, execute the line of code. Like, I'm like, fill in the sentence. It's true. We
Okay.
operate like programs.
Okay, and so we hand it over to Peter and Brian.
I guess we're going to.
All right. So I think after playing so many rounds of Wavelength, I feel like Danny and I have a very similar wavelength. Like everything that she was saying, like is what I was thinking. Like in terms of, is it the Texan side or the non-Texan side? Like I don't think Lisa would have said that wearing a mask is overrated on video in a recording in any context whatsoever. I don't think that thought process would have ever crossed her mind to say wearing masks are overrated.
Yeah, Lisa.
So really put Lisa in a corner now.
Right. So that's just my gut response. She took a little bit of time to think it through. So I can't imagine it being all the way to the bottom. You know what I mean? So what Jay was saying, his logic makes sense. But given the fact that she was thinking about it, means she was trying to find something with a little bit of nuance. Whereas if it was like all the way to the end, she would have come up with a different clue that didn't have any nuance, right? So if anything, I would say it's a little bit, more towards the overrated side. It's a little bit more towards the, I don't know how you say left or right, clockwise, I guess.
This is like right, I guess.
The big area is what you're talking about.
The big area.
But in general, I'm just pointing out like everything that Danny said and everywhere she put that needle is sort of what I was thinking. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
Also in what Peter is saying is that he and I are usually not on the same wavelength.
Which is true.
No, sometimes you are on the same wavelength as Danny. Maybe it's a lead instructor thing. I don't know. Brian
and I are oftentimes right there.
The whole underrated food. Danny was the only person who thought like growing food was an underrated skill. Everybody was like, what a douchebag, growing their own food.
I wasn't saying it's bad. I'm just saying it was overrated. So yeah, we should go with the larger area.
Yeah, statistically.
Okay. You guys
and also there's a lot of ways it could be in that area.
Interpreted.
That was a long discussion to say big. Okay. Should we let Lisa say something before we open this?
No, she can say something afterwards.
Oh my God!
So Lisa is recorded
Lisa
on
would
camera.
Never say a mask is under.
Yeah, good job. Thanks, Peter. Yeah.
But it's now forever on camera. Luckily, it's not live.
Wait,
so
I just want to point out that like this is perfect.
On the opposite side.
So do you get points for that?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah. No. Jay, you were absolutely right. For those of you who may not remember, I have family in Texas. I was in Texas in June for vacation. So
we think the same thing. It was the whose perspective.
Right.
That was the trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Texans think that it is very overrated to be wearing a mask.
Yes.
But we think that in Texas, wearing a mask is underrated.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Don't disagree with any of that. I started chuckling when Peter's like, "Oh, she was taking a long time." I'm like, "No, I literally I spit it out imprecisely because I couldn't think of anything for a few minutes, and I was like, "Oh, I've got something." So, yeah, don't read into how much time.
Okay. So Jay was definitely like on point with his thinking here about it being in the mind of a Texan. But as of course the logical computer science programs that we are executing over
the
here.
algorithm.
No. I will say this.
You told me to print line, I printed line.
So the underrated, overrated, I had to do that same clue and I had the exact same problem. There's like messy food and not messy food. It's so clear, but underrated and overrated is completely perspective based. It's so hard to come up with a good clue for that.
Totally perspective based. Yeah. That's the hard part, nailing the perspective part of it. I totally agree. So like we had all the right ideas, it was just perspective. Yep. Cool. That was actually really fun, I think. Well done.
Yes.
Team Peter Brian gets a point. Team Jay Lisa stays in the starting position. Okay. Peter Brian, you must decide amongst yourselves.
Peter, I think you're excellent at guessing. So I think.
Do you really want me and Peter
It can
talking?
be. Yeah, we'll make it quick.
I also think maybe we should just go with what Peter says and maybe listen to Danny a little bit less.
No.
To be
Me and
putting
Danny,
it on the wrong
Danny,
side.
You're gonna see.
So.
You're gonna see. We'll probably have the.
We're
exact
gonna
same,
agree entirely, and joke will be on you, Brian.
Right, and we will be. We can be completely incorrect, but we will be completely at the same wavelength. That's it's precision versus accuracy. We'll be precise but inaccurate.
All right, you ready, Brian? Tell me when.
Right there. Perfect.
Okay. All right, now you get to choose a side of a card. You can still look. Okay. Uncontroversial topic to controversial topic.
I feel like we did something like that before.
Mental activity versus physical activity. Ooh, these are fun.
Those are fun. Both of them are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like the first one is more, I guess I'd say controversial.
This one isn't. Sure. This wavelength card.
So let's do the other side. Yeah. That's mental fair. Versus physical.
It is Peter and I, so choosing the safe option is better. All right, mental.
Physical's on the right.
Physical.
Okay.
Okay. So now we shall reveal. Everyone will close their eyes except for Brian. Ready, Brian?
I am.
Can you see?
Yes. You can close it now.
Okay. Eyes open. Wow, that's so quick.
There's a photographic memory.
I have to stare at it for so long.
The clue is golf.
Physical, but not the most physical.
Definitely.
But for sure, mostly physical. Like it's in this half, I think we can both agree. Yes?
Yeah, it's a physical game, but it's like, it's always the thing where it's like people are like, you know, compared to basketball, compared to whatever, it's like, it's not really a sport, right? So
it is a sport.
But like people like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, can you play golf with a golf cart? And then they're arguing whether or not they need to walk. So it's got this really weird kind of like, you know, layer to it. So where you have the needle right now, like if it were me, I'm not thinking in terms of Brian. If it were me, I would put it a little bit more physical.
I would too.
But I don't know what Brian was thinking when he said that. Like I'm trying to decipher like what his thought process was. Golf is an interesting clue. I guess
he didn't give any qualifiers either. He just
right, exactly. He's just like golf.
4-letter word golf.
right. He's like professional golf, amateur golf. You know what I mean? It's like okay, is it like is it miniature golf?
Is it 45 golf? Because that I actually don't think I could put this on either of these.
Yeah, like so if you said like basketball, football, there's so many things that are more physical, right? That belong into that deep range. Right.
But I mean, even with super physical activities, you start to almost come back on some. Like, for example, running. It's so physical, but your mental game is also very involved. So you almost start to come back this way.
Because so now you're balancing out now you're balancing out like how mental.
So is it like, are we looking at it like from the outside face value, or are we looking at the inside of that person and whether their body and their mind are taking a toll?
So people do say like golf is an incredibly mental game, like not mental in terms of like calculations, although there's lots of calculations, but just mental in terms of like the math, the wind, and also like your persistence, right? Like not like getting stressed out because you can see other people. Like people say it's a very mental game. So it might be like it might be a perfect clue from that perspective where you're balancing physical and mental. Like he might have said that as like, what is the thing like right in between physical and mental? That could have been his thought process. Like our original conversation was just purely like how physical is the game of golf.
It's weird because you might say like basketball as like one of the most physical activities, but when you think about it, there's a lot of mental activity going into even basketball. Like I would almost argue to say the most physical activity you could do is like playing catch or something, right? Because you just start thinking like nothing and it's purely physical, right? So it's like physically, there's things that can be more physically involved, but also involve a lot of mental games. So are we looking at it from pure physical standpoint or the combination? What would Brian think? Brian answered very quickly and did not think very deeply about his answer, which means I think Brian is thinking about it from a very physical perspective.
I think Brian thinks combinations.
Or maybe Brian is just like 18 steps ahead and has already thought this through.
The question is really, and this is what we will not know, is what does Brian think of the game of golf? You know what I mean? Some people are like, golf? What a stupid sport. You know what I mean? And it's like, is it coming from a place of spite? Or is it coming from a place of like, wow, golf is this really intricate and interesting sport, and and there's a lot of weight behind that.
I kind of like where it is right now. I kind of like this. I think that this is pretty good.
One thing I can tell you is that we for sure lost all of the golfers in the audience.
We're sorry to all the golfers.
Which was our target. That's unfortunate. That's our target demographic. So it's quite unfortunate. I would say that from the combination standpoint, golf is a great answer that lands almost directly in the middle, slightly physical. Like if you were to think of golf, and if the combination of golf and the mental and physical, golf would be like straight up and then maybe just a little bit to maybe like a 1 o'clock position or something like that. But I am okay with, I think it's somewhere in that area, but I would probably pull it a little closer to the middle. I'm good with that. My gut feeling is that Brian said, show me, and he said, close it. And even when he says close it right away, it's either like straight up and down, straight to the right, straight to the left, you know what I mean? So that they don't need to think about the nuance. Right, okay. Right. So that's
all right. I'm going to say that this is okay. I think my brain might put it a little more towards physical, but I also understand the points. And I don't understand how golfers' minds work. So I don't know about Brian golfs. Like, this is a sport I'm very removed from. So
this is a question. That's the essential question. I think that's good for our final answer. I think Danny's pushing it this way. I'm pushing it this way. So that's our compromise.
We're going to meet in the middle.
The question is, what is Brian a golfer? That's the real question.
All right. Handing it over to Lisa and Jay to give us a big or a little.
What do you think, Lisa?
Oh, no, I'm going to make you answer first.
I'm going to go for the little.
You want the little? It's more physical?
That's what I would say.
Okay.
What does Lisa think?
Right. I think the opposite. I think it's like right smack dab in the middle between mental and physical. One of the reasons I think that is because when you think about a physical activity, part of it is the like rigor of the physical activity, like how hard are you working? And even if you're walking 18 holes, and swinging that club and everything, that is not as intense as basketball. That is not as intense as football. That is not as intense as soccer and running and things like that. I think it is a really like solid, like middle combination of it's both a mental game and a physical game. So I would go with big.
Okay. Don't feel strongly enough.
This is why Jay's not the floater.
You're right. Okay.
Also considering that the odds are in your favor, Lisa. Right. I'm cool with that.
Okay. So they're going big, and the truth shall be revealed.
Oh.
Peter, you were so on point.
Yeah.
Lisa was super good at guessing.
No, I was way off last time. Like we chose the bigger size statistically. You know what I mean? When we were trying to do the tasks. But.
So Brian, do you play golf?
I do play a little golf. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's allowed that's outside right now.
Right, and it's socially distant, right?
Yep.
Right.
Then I'm saying if you're a golfer, you're going to answer that clue means something totally different than if you're like super into football and you hate golf, right? Like it's such a different answer.
I guess I'm thinking like football and basketball, like sure they involve thinking, but like every sport involves thinking. But golf involves thinking and not that much physical activity, which puts it more.
I guess I was also in my mind thinking of all of the mental activities that exist.
Yeah. No, I was 100%. I was 100% with your line of thinking, Danny. I just like then you brought it up. I'm like, but if you consider is golf a mental game? We were just purely looking at like what are all the physical activities?
We were going to go more
physical is golf.
So
yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we had that discussion, but it bore no fruit. Okay, we have time for maybe one more before Lisa has to leave us. So let's make another quick one here. Which means Jay is going to be our
Let's do it.
mind reader, or sorry, our psychic. Same thing, right? All right. So, also we have now increased yellow by 1. You have 1 point. So close. Okay.
Yeah, this is a nail biter.
Oh, great. This is a fun card. You ready? Okay. Bad superpower versus good superpower. Ridiculously subjective.
Nice.
The other side.
Ineffective versus effective.
Let's do the superpowers.
I think that one sounds more fun.
Okay, so blue is bad. That side is bad.
Yes, blue is bad superpower and yellow is good superpower. Also, I happen to be ridiculously opinionated about superpowers, so this will be super fun. Sorry, Lisa.
Oh no, I'm prepared to fight with you.
This is a lightning round, so.
Great. Okay, you ready, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone is going to close their eyes except for Jay. Can you see it okay?
I can. You can close it.
All right, eyes open.
Can I just clarify one thing?
Maybe.
Does
You
bad
can speak now, yeah.
does bad mean evil or ineffective?
No, you can't. No.
Can we answer that?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
it makes it way more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't say good and evil.
Whichever you pick, Jay.
Yeah.
You shouldn't tell other
That is
people.
the challenge. We have to decide what you interpret by it. So you
Right.
can pick a clue where you can sort of qualify your clue to help people understand. But that's a you question, Jay. So blue is bad, yellow is good. Is that right?
Yeah, it doesn't say like lame, but it also doesn't say
Right.
evil.
You're right.
Here we go. Being able to see through walls.
Oh, that's fun. X-ray vision or only walls? I guess you can't answer that.
Yep.
You already
Right.
You've locked it, and you've locked it in.
Yep.
I think that's a decent superpower. It's obviously not like flying.
Right.
It's still neat. It's definitely, I don't think it's in the realm of a bad superpower.
Yeah. I mean,
Like a bad superpower would be like turning water into like dirty water, Like that would be
You find uses for that, but it would be a bad superpower.
okay.
Like making fruit taste like pickles. Like that would be a terrible superpower. I guess it depends if you don't like fruit and you really like pickles. But this is like a good superpower-ish, right?
Okay.
It's good-ish.
Yeah, I'm about there. Like somewhere of like kind of in the middle. Like I could see where like there could be a take of like maybe a little bit evil,
What would
depending
Jay
on the
like to see
context.
through walls to be able to do?
Why would you want to see through walls, Jay? What's wrong
Why
with you?
would Jay want
Yeah.
to see through a wall? What would that give him?
I would say where you've got it is good.
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so like good-ish, a little good.
Yeah.
I'd say a little good too. I almost want to say not bad though, which leads me to want to push it a little more to the middle.
We could.
Little good.
I wouldn't fight you on that.
Seeing through walls. What could you do with seeing through walls? Like you could see like people doing weird things. Like you could see, you could check on like the baby, see how baby's doing without going in the room.
Yeah.
Like you could watch your neighbors sleeping. That would be weird.
Right.
seem
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like
that
who's on the
good.
other side of that wall and what are they doing and should
And,
you
like,
be seeing that or not?
Could you just walk into the other room? Like, it's like really lazy. I guess, what do you want to... It doesn't seem that good now that I'm describing the things you could do with it.
Do we need to put this in the middle then?
Take it back a little bit. Like, it's not that good.
This is a lightning round, right?
Yep.
But can you
We're
only
trying
see
to
through
be.
one wall, or could you see through as many walls as you want to? Because if you could see through like 8 walls, that could be really useful, right? This would be really good for like policemen or something, right? This would be
So he should have
great.
clarified. He's like, in order to
Yep.
make this perfect, he could have been like, it's the ability to see through up to 17 walls. Like,
Right.
17 walls.
Yes, this is
Yep.
coding. Like, if value of walls seen through is greater than 16, then superpower equals good.
Right.
Conditional logic.
So, final answer.
I think I
Yeah.
like this, like a tiny bit good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that.
Okay. We're locking this in.
Yes. All right.
Brian, any thoughts?
So my initial thought is, why is Jay asking good or bad if it's near the middle? Right? If it's near the middle, then like he wouldn't need to be super clear about
I guess.
Like,
Yeah, it's
whether it's lame or if it's evil. Like,
sure.
so
sure.
I think it's in a pretty good spot now. I guess I would hedge a little bit more good because it does seem kind of good at first glance. But I think
Yeah.
where they have it is a good
Yeah.
spot.
I think there's a lot of ways to debate it, but for the sake of the lightning round, I'm good to say it's more good. So on the smaller side.
Okay, so they're going with this side, small side.
Mhm.
And the moment.
Oh!
Nailed it.
We got it. Look at that. That is as
Oh.
perfect can be.
Yeah, that's how you play
Nicely done,
Wavelength.
Danny. So,
That's a-
Jay, what were you thinking in terms of being able to see through walls?
I was thinking that it could be useful. You can definitely use it the wrong way, so it's not that good.
Okay.
You could.
And I will
for
say
sure.
that
You
I'm
can
glad
use
me and
any
Brian
superpower for bad.
I'm glad me and Brian didn't debate this for the next 30 minutes because we couldn't have gotten any points
You
either
couldn't
way.
have gotten points no matter what. Yeah. When you
We'd have been
land-
like, less, more.
when
Yep.
the team lands right on the target, it's impossible for the other team to score any points. So that takes this team to a whopping
Victory.
5 points. GG,
What a-
y'all. Heck
What
yeah. That was a good
What
one.
an exciting finish.
What an exciting
We really figured
finish.
this game out, you know?
Yeah.
I don't
Yes,
Just
we
like
did.
four.
We landed
every time.
exactly
So-
on the target the very, very last time, and now we're not going to play this game.
I
Yep.
think if you watched the first time we played Wavelength, we had like nearly all 4s, and then the next time we played, we were all disappointed. We were like, "Wow, we just sucked today." I'm like, "No, we just were incredibly lucky the first time." So,
There's a little bit of that luck involved, and sometimes the clue really helps.
yeah, sometimes a clue is an easy clue.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's going to wrap up today's session of Wavelength, where we've decided that seeing through walls is a little bit good superpower, but not
Mhm.
very.
Yep.
And we all wanted to know the answer to that question, so I feel really relieved.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you all for playing. Any closing remarks before we head out?
Thanks
No.
for watching.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Yeah, total silence. Perfect. You guys remind me of my classes. Okay. See y'all next time for a new game.